Hey guys, welcome to Lucky Podcasts. We are back again with few more videos on Union Public Service Commission, State Public Service Commission, Finance Commission, and much more. In this episode, let us listen to the Union Public Service Commission. In the next episode, we will listen about the State Public Service Commissions. So, if you finish listening to this episode, we suggest you go watch that video as well. The link would be in the description box below. We suggest you because if you listen to the State Public Service Commissions, it will be like a revision of the UPSC again because most of it is the same, and you'll be able to write State Public Service Commissions and Joint Public Service Commissions as well. So let's start the Union Public Service Commission. The Union Public Service Commission is the central recruiting agency in India. It is an independent constitutional body in the sense that it has been directly created by the Constitution. Articles 315, 316, 317, 318, 319, 320, 321, 322 and 323 of the Indian Constitution deal with the Union Public Service Commission. So remember it as Articles 315 to 323 as those articles that contain elaborate provisions regarding the composition, which means who consists of UPSC. So it speaks about composition, appointment and removal of the members along with the independence, powers and functions of the UPSC. So let's start afresh with the composition. The Union Public Service Commission consists of a chairman and other members appointed by the President of India. The Constitution, without specifying the strength of the commission, has left the matter to the discretion of the President, who determines its composition. Usually, the commission consists of 9 to 11 members, including the chairman. So, the small technique here would be, if you properly know, the emergency number in US is 911, like it is 108 in India in many states. It is 911 in US. So, somehow link it with the UPSC. So, remember it as 9 to 11 members are a part of UPSC, including the chairman. So, no qualifications are prescribed for the commission's membership in the Constitution except that one half of the members of the commission should be those persons who have held office for at least 10 years either under the government of India or under the government of any state. The Constitution also authorizes the President to determine the conditions of service of the chairman and other members of the commission. The chairman and members of the commission hold office for a term of 6 years or until they attain the age of 65 years, whichever is earlier. However, they can relinquish their offices at any time by addressing their resignation to the President. They can also be removed before the expiry of the term by the President in the manner provided in the Constitution. We will just listen to how they are removed later, but before that, the President can appoint one of the members of the UPSC as an acting chairman in the following two circumstances. 1. When the office of the chairman falls vacant. 2. When the chairman is unable to perform his functions due to absence or some other reason. The acting chairman functions till a person appointed as chairman enters on the duties of the office or till the chairman is able to resume his office. Now let us listen to how removal of the chairman or the members of the UPSC is done. The President can remove the chairman or any other members of the UPSC from the office under the following circumstances. A. If the member or chairman is judged to be an insolvent, which means if the person goes bankrupt, he can be removed. B. If he engages during his term of office in any paid employment outside the duties of office. And finally, if he is, in the opinion of the President, unfit to continue in office by reason of infirmity of mind or body, he can be removed. In addition to these three conditions, the President can also remove the chairman or any other member of UPSC for misbehavior. However, in this case, in case if the President wants to remove the member or chairman on the ground that is misbehavior, the President has to refer the matter to the Supreme Court for an inquiry. If the Supreme Court, after the inquiry, upholds the cause of removal and advises so, the President can remove the chairman or member. Under the provisions of the Constitution, the advice tendered by the Supreme Court in this regard is binding on the President. During the course of inquiry by the Supreme Court, the President can suspend the chairman or the member of the UPSC. Defining the term misbehavior in this context, the Constitution states that the chairman or any other member of the UPSC is deemed to be guilty of misbehavior if he is concerned or interested in any contract or agreement made by the Government of India or the government of any state, or if he participates in any way in the profit of such contract or agreement or in any benefit therefrom, otherwise than as a member and in common with other members of an incorporated company. In such grounds, it can be understood as misbehavior. So let us now listen to how independent UPSC as a commission and constitutional body is. Independence of UPSC. The Constitution has made the following provisions to safeguard and ensure the independent and impartial functioning of the UPSC. The chairman or a member of the UPSC can be removed from office only by the President, in the manner and on the grounds mentioned in the Constitution. Therefore, they enjoy security of tenure. The conditions of service of the chairman or a member, though determined the President, cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. The entire expenses, including the salaries, allowances, and pensions of the chairman and members of the UPSC, are charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. Thus, they are not subject to vote of Parliament. The chairman of UPSC, on ceasing to hold office, is not eligible for further employment in the Government of India or any state. A member of UPSC is eligible for appointment as the chairman of UPSC or State Public Service Commission, but not for any other employment in the Government of India or state. The chairman of UPSC or member, after having completed his first term, is not eligible for reappointment to that office. That means he can't have a second term. Now let us listen to the functions of UPSC. What does UPSC do? The UPSC performs the following functions. It conducts examinations for appointments to the All India services, that is Indian Forest Service, Indian Administrative Service, and Indian Police Service. It conducts examinations for all the central services or some of the central services and public services of the centrally administrated territories. UPSC assists the states if it is requested by two or more states in framing and operating schemes of joint recruitment for any services for which candidates possessing special qualifications are required. UPSC serves all or any of the needs of a state on the request of the state governor and with the prior approval of the President of India. UPSC is consulted on the following matters related to the personnel management. In all the matters relating to the methods of recruitment to the civil services and for civil posts, UPSC is consulted in the principles to be followed in making appointments to civil services and posts and in making promotions and transfers from one service to another. UPSC is consulted while the suitability of candidates for appointments to civil services and posts is in question, for promotions and transfers from one service to another, and appointments by transfer or deputation. The concerned departments make recommendations for promotions and request the UPSC to ratify them. UPSC is consulted in all the disciplinary matters affecting a person serving under the Government of India in a civil capacity, including memorials or petitions relating to matters like withholding of increments, withholding of promotions, compulsory retirement, recovery of pecuniary loss, reduction to lower service or rank which is called demotion, or removal from service, dismissal from service, or censure, which means severe disapproval. So UPSC is also consulted in the case of any claim for reimbursement of legal expenses incurred by a civil servant in defending legal proceedings instituted against him in respect of acts done in the execution of his official duties. Also, any claim for the award of a pension in respect of injuries sustained by a person while serving under the Government of India, and any question as to the amount of any such reward, UPSC is consulted. Matters of temporary appointments for period exceeding 1 year and on regularization of appointments, UPSC is consulted. Also, matters related to the grant of extension of service and re-employment of certain retired civil servants, UPSC is consulted. And other matters related to the personal management. The Supreme Court has held that if the government fails to consult UPSC in the matters I just mentioned, the aggrieved public servant has no remedy in a court. In other words, the Supreme Court held that any irregularity in consultation with the UPSC or acting without consultation does not invalidate the decision of the government. Thus, the provision is directory and not mandatory. Similarly, the court held that a selection by the UPSC does not confer any right to the post upon the candidate. However, the government is to act fairly and without arbitrariness or malafides. The additional functions relating to the services of the Union can be conferred on UPSC by the Parliament. It can also place the personal system of any authority, corporate body or public institution within the jurisdiction of the UPSC. Hence, the jurisdiction of UPSC can be extended by an act made by the Parliament. The UPSC presents annually to the President a report on its performance. The President places this report before both the Houses of Parliament, along with a memorandum explaining the cases where the advice of the Commission was not accepted and the reasons for such non-acceptance. All such cases of non-acceptance must be approved by the Appointments Committee of the Union Cabinet. An individual ministry or department has no right to reject the advice of the UPSC. Now let us listen to the limitations of UPSC. The following matters are kept outside the functional jurisdiction of the UPSC. In other words, UPSC cannot be consulted on the following matters. I am just going to tell you. While making reservations of appointments or posts in favor of any backward class of citizens, UPSC cannot be consulted. While taking into consideration the claims of SCs and STs, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, in making appointments to services and posts, UPSC cannot be consulted. With regard to the selections for chairmanship or membership of commissions or tribunals, posts of the highest diplomatic nature, and a bulk of Group C and Group D services, UPSC cannot be consulted. With regard to the selection for temporary or officiating appointments to a post, if the person appointed is not likely to hold the post for more than a year, UPSC cannot be consulted. The President can exclude posts, services, and matters from the purview of the UPSC. The Constitution states that the President, in respect to the All India services and central services and posts, may make regulations specifying the matters in which it shall not be necessary for UPSC to be consulted. But all such regulations made by the President shall be laid before each House of the Parliament for at least 14 days. The Parliament can amend or repeal them. Now let us listen to the role of UPSC. The Constitution visualizes the Union Public Service Commission to be the watchdog of merit system in India. It is concerned with the recruitment to the All India services and central services Group A and Group B, and advises the government when consulted on promotion and disciplinary matters. It is not concerned with the classification of services, pay and service conditions, cadre management, training and so on. These matters are handled by the Department of Personnel and Training, one of the three departments of Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. Therefore, UPSC is only a central recruiting agency, while the Department of Personnel and Training is the central personnel agency in India. The role of UPSC is not only limited, but also recommendations made by it are only of advisory nature, and hence are not binding on the government. It is up to the union government to accept or reject that advice. The only safeguard is the answerability of the government to the Parliament for departing from the recommendation of the Commission. Further, the government can also make rules which regulate the scope of the advisory functions of Union Public Service Commission. The emergence of Central Vigilance Commission (CVC) in 1964 started affecting the role of UPSC in disciplinary matters because both are consulted by the government while taking disciplinary actions against a civil servant. Always a problem arises when when both CVC and UPSC tender conflicting advices. However, the UPSC, being an independent and constitutional body, has an edge over the CVC when compared, which is created because CVC is not a constitutional body. It is only created by an executive resolution of the Government of India and conferred a statutory status recently in October 2003. As told, Articles 315 to 323 speak about the Union Public Service Commission. Article 315 speaks about the public service commissions for the Union and the states. Article 316 speaks about the appointment and term of office of members. Article 317 speaks about the removal and suspension of a member of a public service commission. Article 318 speaks about the power to make regulations as to conditions of service of members and staff of the commission. Article 319 speaks about the prohibition as to the holding of office by members of UPSC on ceasing to be such members. 320 speaks about the functions. 321 speaks about the power to extend the functions of UPSC. 322 speaks about the expenses of public service commissions. 323 speaks about the report of public service commissions that are to be submitted to the President of India. So here the chapter on UPSC ends, and in the next episode we suggest that you listen to the episode on state public service commissions. Until then, take care. Keep listening to Lucky Podcasts. If you have any suggestions or feedback, you can always mail us at podcastslucky@gmail.com. I'll spell it for you: podcastslucky@gmail.com. Or without taking such effort, you can just comment it below the video, or why don't you please tell us some feedback. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.